Welcome to the Catholic Midlife podcast, where we address the challenges and the opportunities of midlife from a uniquely Catholic perspective. This is the time, my friends, for a deeper renewal of your Christian vocation. Come and enter into the freedom of Christ that allows you to be the person you were created to be, because there's an amazing, awesome, exciting next season of life waiting for you. Hello and welcome to the Catholic Midlife podcast. You are here with Karen and Curtis Herbert.
Hi, everybody.
And it is the month of February, the month of marriage in the Herbert household. We've been seduced by Hallmark.
I love how Valentine's Day is also Ash Wednesday.
Dun, dun, dun.
Karen, we got an email from one of our listeners. I had sent out an email about, it had an anecdote about a camping trip. I was talking about how a bad experience can create resistance to doing that thing again.
That's for sure.
Yeah. And our reader said, "Great email and content, Curtis. Excellent story to visualize your lesson on resistance. Seemed like it always rained when we camped."
Boy, it does always seem that way, doesn't it?
You remember the rain. That's that negative bias working for you, right?
Exactly.
Well, speaking of bias, hopefully, positive bias in marriage, I was reading The 7 Principles for Making Your Marriage Work by John Gottman, who's a thought leader in marriage research. One of his principles was enhance your love maps.
Enhance your love maps. Okay, what's a love map?
We might simply say it's a map of the one you love. It's having good ideas about what they think, how they feel, their opinions, how they view the world.
Okay, so sort of like how I see their model of the world in action.
Yeah, and what they like, what they dislike, hopes and dreams and fears, who they are now.
Okay, who they are now, not who they were 20 years ago.
Well, now that's an interesting question.
I think I really like this, what you're bringing up, because once you've been married for a while, we can really fall into these assumptions about what we believe the other person is experiencing or thinking or feeling. And we can get into ruts or patterns, maybe without questioning our own assumptions.
Yeah, we just assume. And then, boom, you walk into some kind of landmine, or you just don't connect the way you used to.
Yeah.
And it's because your map perhaps is not where it could be. So one way to kind of ease into some sensitive areas where you're trying to go a little deeper, is to ask questions. Maybe some open-ended questions, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like I'm grilling you. Curtis, what do you think about this? Why do you think that? Are you sure?
Yeah, getting accused of grilling somebody, that's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just the timing.
Maybe it's more something like, well, I've just noticed this lately, and what's happening for you in that?
Yeah, so you're making an observation, and then you ask how well you're doing it. So this is sort of one formula for easing into more sensitive areas. It seems like blah, blah, blah. How on track am I with that?
Sure. How accurate is that? Am I understanding that? Yeah.
Or this is one of your questions. I'm perceiving blah, blah, blah. What do you think?
Do I say that?
That's one of your patterns. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I like this idea of continuing to get to know your spouse, because we do change and we always surprise each other. I feel like things come up and that are new or that have shifted, or perspectives that change. So there's always more to get to know in you.
What's something that surprised you in our marriage in the last few years?
In the last few years, something that surprised me. Well, frankly, I was surprised when you left the law at the time that you did. I think I did expect you to try to, just hang in there for another however many years. And so when you really came around to, no, I think it's time, that was somewhat surprising to me.
Interesting. I didn't appreciate that you were expecting me to just go through all that and just say, no, I'm going to wait X more years?
Well, it wasn't an expectation. I was curious and also somewhat surprised at how it all ended up.
Yeah, interesting. Well, there were a few key things that filled in for me.
Sure.
And I don't think we're going to go down into all that. And I was trying to think of how I would answer that question for you, how you have surprised me.
Yeah, I want to know.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm not sure what to say. I think, but I can at least make an observation that since the empty nest started to happen, so as your kids start to leave and your availability time-wise starts to increase, you didn't get into volunteerism. You've kind of carved your own path. And that's a surprising thing, really, to me.
Interesting. You kind of wondered if I might get pulled into just all the activity of the volunteerism.
Well, what surprised me is you went off and carved your own path out of whole cloth and not building on or taking other things from the various places where you're involved.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something new. That's a good point.
It's something very new. And I've come to understand it's based on some pretty deep drivers, but also callings and vocations. So
right.
That's been cool.
Thanks for sharing that.
You've taken me along for the ride.
I sure have. I've pulled you in my wake. Ha ha ha.
And doesn't that bring us to, well, your spouse is going to change.
Yes.
And you gotta roll with it. You gotta adapt to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of exciting. I mean, it makes things interesting, don't you think?
Well, it does. And change is a little challenging, but it makes it interesting and it creates a more vital life.
So in a way, I'm thinking of this Gottman approach of creating your love maps. It's almost like periodically coming back around and saying, what's new? What's changed? Who are you now? What does that mean?
Absolutely. I was talking with some men. We had just finished one of those marathon games that we like to play. And so we were sitting around and I started asking them about marriage because this is the game group where the men are married. So I have one game group that plays these long games and they're not married anymore. But these guys are all married. So I was talking to them and one of them said, I was asking for marriage tips. One of them said, your spouse is going to change and you and her have to change together. You have to change towards each other. And I don't mean just little changes like hobbies and stuff. I mean more major changes. And I won't share his specific example, but it was a significant personality change. It wasn't bad, but it was different. It's not really the person maybe that you married.
Well, that's a very interesting point because our personalities can change. A while ago, I remember talking to someone who said, you know, when I was 20-something, I had this certain feedback on the Myers-Briggs personality test. And then I had some very specific circumstances in my life. And 20 years later, all of that had become the opposite on the Myers-Briggs personality test. And that was very intriguing to me. It wasn't positive or negative, but I think it goes to your point, Curtis, that we can have some pretty big changes as we grow and enter into stages of life. And I really loved that phrase you used, growing towards each other or changing towards each other.
Towards each other, yes.
Towards each other. That's beautiful.
Part of keeping those maps up to date is keeping your spouse updated, I think. It's great to expect them to get to know you. However, you got to make yourself known. You got to make yourself known. There's only so much mind reading they can do. There's only so much curiosity that is going to be triggered at just the right times and places that you want. And it's up to us to try to keep the level of communication deep from time to time.
Yeah.
You need to go deeper. And I'm not sure we do this well.
So, Curtis, let's go through those 5 levels of communication, the connecting, building communication. We learned these from Phil Carlson and Michelle Carlson at Connected Marriage. And we really love the way they laid this out, that really there's 5 levels of communication. And the first is just your basic conversation you might have with anybody, right? Kind of your cliche communication. How are you doing?
Hey,
How
how's
about
it
those
going?
Vikings?
Yeah.
Boy, there's no snow this winter.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. Good. That's cliches. What do you got after that?
Okay. So the next level would be more like just telling people factual information. And you get into those really busy seasons of marriage, and there's a lot of reporting the facts that needs to be done. We are out of milk. We need some for tomorrow. This kid needs to be driven to the doctor at such and such a time.
Oh, yeah. All the endless kid scheduling.
Exactly.
A lot of logistics.
Yeah, I'm going to be late for work. And what does that mean? And how do we need to move things around?
Good. That's a vital level of communication.
It is.
But there are deeper levels.
There are deeper sharing levels that we're out of milk. How about this one? Sharing opinions. It's a little bit riskier to put ourselves out there and share what we really think. It could lead to disagreement or conflict. Really, I'd rather stay home tonight instead of going out with friends.
Yeah, opinions as between us.
Yes.
About things as between us. So when you're saying, hey, I don't think I really want to go out, there's a little bit of risk taking there.
Sure.
And you've found your voice in that area. You know what you want. And so you're able to express your opinion. I don't really want to go on vacation to tour castles.
Yeah.
What? Are you kidding? No more castle vacations? No, I really don't.
Yeah.
Now, Karen would love to go on a vacation to see a castle because I'm the first one to say I don't want that kind of vacation. But it's just an example.
Sure. But to be open and frank about our preferences, our desires, our wants. And the next level goes even a little more deeper when we open up and we share maybe our true needs and our deeper feelings about life and our relationship.
When we're able to ask for what we want, perhaps.
Ask for what we need.
Example, sometimes I feel disconnected. It would be great if we could talk more.
Right. Maybe I trust you, but I'm not so sure I trust this friend that you're with. And when you go out with him, I'm worried that something might happen.
Yeah, that's got some risk, and you have some vulnerability there. I like it when you come over and sit down on the couch next to me.
Yeah, that's a good one. Sure. So things that we like, things that we dislike, things that we need more of.
Great. Are we done? Is that the 4 levels?
Nope, there's 5. There's 5. There's an even deeper one where there's this level of complete truthfulness. And these are the things that we may even not completely understand ourselves. So it's hard to communicate them because they're deep. I need to know that I'm important to you and that you care for me. And this is how I know that from you.
And that's going to be pretty hard because if you're saying that, it's because some part of you feels you don't value me.
Yeah.
And bringing that up it's risky and it can be hard to articulate. But notice how nicely this is brought up. There's no accusation or judgment here. It's not, you ignore me, you don't pay attention to me, you don't give me the time. It's you being truthful about yourself.
Right. And this is very vulnerable because this level can often connect to some deeper fears or insecurities that we have that really go maybe even really far back for us.
And this becomes an area where I think we have to make ourselves known, because it's just not going to be drawn out of us through questions and exercises. So we have to be willing to dig a little bit and find the right time and place for that.
Right. And be honest with ourselves about what those areas are and what we want to communicate. Okay, so along the lines of this love map idea, which I really like, Curtis and I are going to really go through a little questionnaire. This is one that you've put together, right, Curtis?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the fun thing about this questionnaire is there's a list of questions to engage with your spouse, and there's a time limit. So the idea is to move through these questions in a fairly rapid manner to get to a little bit deeper level.
Yeah, we just want top of mind, because hopefully your spouse won't be going anywhere after the questionnaire, and you'll have something to talk about, or you can correct it.
Okay, so if I'm really not coming up with any answer, can I just say pass and we'll come back to it later?
Yeah, pass.
Okay, Curtis, how many minutes do we have?
We have 6 minutes.
Section. 6 minutes. So 6 for me and 6 for you?
No, 6 total. We just go fast, top of mind.
Oh, okay. Okay, do we need a timer, or are we just going to go for it?
I'm looking at this little clock here.
Okay, so do I ask the question?
Right. So instructions. Now you want instructions. Okay.
I want instructions.
So be mindful of time. So the first person, in this case me, will ask the question.
Okay.
And then you answer. Then you ask the same question and I answer.
Oh.
And we keep going.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Ooh,
okay.
I'm getting a little nervous. Okay.
What's my favorite movie?
Your favorite movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, that was easy.
What's my favorite movie?
Well, honey, you don't have a favorite movie. But after a silent retreat lasting about 3 days, you'd come up a list of 3 possibilities for 6 different reasons. And somewhere on that list would be Pulp Fiction.
Oh, not anymore. It was an interesting movie, but you're right. No, it would be the Marvel movie with the outer space with the really funny guy.
Oh, Galaxy of the Guardians?
Yeah. That would be it. Okay, next question.
What foods do I love? What foods do I hate?
Foods do you love? You love hot sauce. And you hate boring, not spiced Minnesota hot dish.
Fair enough.
Thanks. What foods do I love and what foods do I hate?
Well, this is hard because there's a lot of foods you don't eat.
I know.
And I haven't seen you forage in a free range manner for
you can't
many
talk
years.
about it. You just have to answer.
No qualifying. You're right. I'm breaking the rules.
You are.
You love salmon.
Good.
You hate Mexican food.
Oh, okay. Next one.
What activities do I enjoy a lot these days?
You like to read, you like to kite surf, and you like to play those very long games you mentioned earlier.
Right. Gotcha.
What activities do I enjoy a lot these days?
Well, you've been into sewing a lot. And of course, you're reading constantly.
True.
And you like to learn.
I do.
So, Karen, really, we're supposed to alternate who asks the questions. I didn't mention that.
Oh, okay.
So why don't
now
you
I
ask
should
number 4?
Where would I like to be in my work or my contribution to the world in 5 years? You have 15 seconds.
Yeah, no pressure. I think you want your public speaking to really grow. You're really starting to grow it now, and you have aspirations for that to be something really big. Where would I like to be, Karen, in my work or my contributions to the world in 5 years?
I think you would like to have a clear vision for your contribution and feel like you're making a difference while also having plenty of time for other types of activities.
Okay. Question 5. What would a great lifestyle look like for me?
Oh, okay. I guess I kind of got into that. I think that you would like to work 15 to 20 hours a week and have the rest of the time to serve your family and enjoy this next decade of your life, which is a really important one that you want to lean into.
Very nice.
What would a great lifestyle look like for me?
Oh, well, you would like to work part-time, but make your big impact. You'd like to spend your time coaching and teaching and speaking and have marketing people do that work for you. And then you'd have some time off to spend with your friends and take care of your kids especially.
Yeah. What would I do if I won the lottery today?
Oh, interesting. I think you'd start some big institute.
Oh, yeah.
And then hire all your minions to do the
things I
the
hate.
day-to-day work. Yeah.
Totally on point.
What would a great lifestyle? No, I'm starting to get confused now.
I think you're on what would you do if you won the lottery?
Yeah. What would you do if you won the lottery today, Karen?
Well, no, I think you need to say, read that
What
question.
would I do if I won the lottery today?
There you go. What would you do? I think you'd immediately have a list of 10 really fun things you wanted to do or buy. And you would come tell me, and then you would say, don't let me buy anything for at least a couple of months. And then we'd work through our big, ambitious visions, and then we'd make a little fun budget. And then you'd pick something like a big kite trip or a new kind of kite that you wanted.
Okay, fair enough. I like it.
I kind of want to know if I'm right, but there's no time to ask you that. What's something I've always wanted to do, but probably will never be able to do?
What would you love to do? I think you would like to do some heavy duty travel, like a really long overseas trip, but I don't see it in the cards.
Okay.
What's something I have always wanted to do, but probably will never be able to do?
Be a billionaire.
Okay. I'll ask number 8. What's one of the habits of married life that you enjoy, Karen? For instance, a ritual or activity that we routinely do.
I like before we listen or before we do the podcast, you pick a really fun dance song and you put it on and we dance around the house to get our energy up. I like that.
Yeah, we have to be in the right mind frame.
I know. What's one of the habits that you enjoy that you routinely do with me?
Usually there's certain times during the week we have these great discussions. They usually revolve around theology or sometimes coaching or personal development. And it's because one of us is investigating those areas. We have these great discussions about them, and it's super fun.
Good one. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would that be?
I don't know. Have more patience. If you could change one thing about yourself, Karen, what would that be?
I'd like to be less distractible and have more energy to run around and take care of things.
Ooh, okay. What's one habit you would like to break?
A habit I would like to break. Okay, often in the mornings, I come down and as I'm having breakfast and drinking coffee, I listen to the news. I think I want to stop doing that.
Oh, fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, I think it gets my brain all jumbled up in the wrong way too early in the morning. What's a habit you would like to break?
That's a hard one. I don't know if it would be something boring like in the diet area, or it could be more of some personality thing like I touched on the patience.
Okay. Awesome. I'm guessing we're over the 6-minute mark. How'd we do?
We did about 12 minutes.
Okay. So this is just the first set of questions. And there's actually another set of questions. And you get more time, by the way, to do that set of questions. And I like this, Curtis, because it kind of forces me to create an answer. And sometimes what comes out is not maybe what I would have thought if I'd sat around and thought about it. So I like that about it.
The next set of questions is more personal.
Yeah.
They don't even get to the deepest levels, but it's growing in the conversation.
Okay. So if a listener wanted these questions to use with their spouse, can they ask you for it?
They can ask us for us. They can email us at thecatholicmidlife@gmail.com.
Awesome.
And just say, what's that list of marriage questions? And we have a nice short PDF. We'll share it with you. And it could be a fun thing to do with your spouse and help develop the habit, the mindset of building out that map and asking questions and trying to stay up to date.
Okay. Well, I think in the next week, we're going to do the next set of questions and maybe consider just investing this week in the Love Maps idea.
Okay, let's do it.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for being here, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thanks for being here with us. The Catholic Midlife Podcast is for anyone that wants to receive the abundance of life that God has for each one of us. Take a moment right now to tell a friend about us.